Good to go. Okay, it is 10 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting in order, certify that we do have a quorum present. All 5 members are here. Item number 2 is opening prayer, and we do have John Hare here to lead us in an opening prayer. And following that, Commissioner Leon Clement, will you lead us in the pledges? Yes, sir. Would everybody please rise?
Let us pray. Almighty God, as we gather here this morning, we are very mindful of all the blessings that you give us in our lives. We thank you for this day, for all the people that surround us, and for the county in which we live. And especially we thank you, O God, today for all those who put their skills and talents in service to the citizens of Cooke County. We pray especially this morning, O God, for this Commissioners Court. May all that they do here reflect both your justice and your mercy for this county. And we thank you for their dedication and willingness to serve. And we ask your continued blessing. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item number 5 is a presentation of certificate appreciation for I Heart Nails and Spa. This reads, in appreciation for contribution of time and services to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Cooke County Commissioners Court thanks you for your outstanding and selfless service in making and distributing over 50,000 masks for citizens and emergency personnel, healthcare providers, and businesses throughout the county, state, and nation. This is signed and approved the 8th day of June 2020. For those of you who are not aware, I Heart Nails and Spa, you guys have been working very hard in putting a lot of masks together. A lot of them went here locally, but I think you went to, what, 43 different states across the nation during a time when I know those were desperately needed. And you guys did an excellent job, and I think y'all are still making masks, is that correct? And so that number continues to grow, but we did want to show our gratitude and appreciation for all your hard work, and we have a motion to approve this certificate of appreciation.
I'll make the motion that we approve this certificate.
We have a motion by Commissioner John Clement.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 5-0. And I want to get a photo for you, but try to figure out the best way to do that.
Good old social distancing.
I know, that's what I was just thinking.
Well, you were close the other night, and you were that far away from the mayor, and I was bugging the other 2 commissioners. Why can't we sit together? Because I watched all that. I couldn't get there. I didn't see.
That was an
anybody.
outdoor venue, was the deal.
I didn't see anybody. Well, it feels like it's outdoors in here. No air conditioning.
Is there a way to do a picture, at least do them a picture?
We can probably step out into the rotunda and take a picture and be able to kind of space out a little bit.
If you would go out there, just the 3 of you guys.
Well, we can do it unless y'all.
Go ahead.
Okay.
If you're worried about it, but we're going to have to discuss your behavior.
Thank y'all again very much.
Thank you.
It was so awesome.
Y'all want to? We can step outside and get a couple of pictures.
And all the photographers will go out there and they'll stand next to each other and take pictures. Yeah.
I went in there and saw that operation whenever they were doing it. Picked to buy some masks. Crazy. They were getting after it.
Industrious.
For the greater good.
You can get creative when times get hard and things get bad.
The wedding. to a wedding.
Oh, yeah, how'd that go?
Of course, I go there all the time to get a pedicure.
Got that, and
I'm not afraid to admit it.
some of you more feminine guys, you know, y'all require some delicate care. Made that work, did you? Yeah.
Item number 7 is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they wish to pull?
The bills, I got a bill I want to talk about.
So item D,
Yeah. You wanted, we can just yak it over a little bit and we'll be finished.
sure.
Mom's Donuts, $700 now. Is that just for the employees in the courthouse? How many donuts is everybody
Well, it
eating?
was donut day the other day, but no,
I didn't get any.
what that was is the, and if Ray wants to talk about it, we can do that, but we had the testing going on from the state testing folks were in on Thursday and Friday of last week, I believe, or maybe the week before. They were testing individuals all day, those 2 days, and typically the county that they're being tested in is gracious enough to provide them lunch since they're out there at,
Oh, not donuts. I was
not
gonna
donuts,
say that's-
these are lunch boxes of actual
Okay.
lunches for their crews that were.
For 2 days.
For 2 days,
How many did we feed?
and you may,
About 80, 85, I believe, actually, total.
because there was 2 different teams there, because they were training a team as well. But that's expenses that will be reimbursed through for COVID, because we were feeding people that were testing, so.
That's all.
It wasn't donuts for National Donut Day.
I thought I missed out on something. But I figured if you bought that many donuts, there'd be a few left over somewhere. We were about to have a rat problem in the corner.
Yeah.
I make a motion. We
We have a
approve.
motion by Commissioner Leon Clement to approve the consent agenda,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Item number 8 is deliberate consider possible approval of First Amendment interlocal cooperative agreement with Denton County for improvement to County Road 365. Commissioner John Clement, you want to speak to that?
County Road 365 is probably the most traveled road in Precinct 3, especially when I-35 construction takes place. It is the back way that the western part of the county goes to Denton and Fort Worth. Denton County approached me. They are now contracting with this asphalt company to lay down asphalt. They're no longer going to do chip seal. They're going to start asphalting as many miles of road as possible. I adjoin, or Precinct 3 adjoins Denton County on, on 365. And looking at what they're offering and the travel of the type of equipment that goes down this road, I feel the asphalt will be a more long-lasting. We've been working on that road for about 3 years. It was a chip seal road. It deteriorated when the oil field production was booming. We got a salt water injection plant on the end on 51 on the north side. Like I said, there is lots of traffic, heavy truck traffic. My projected plans was whenever we redid this road, then the following year come back and chip seal on top. That would make it even a top, higher quality road. So the cost of this is going to be $252,450. That is the asphalt, seal coat on top of the gravel, and then the contractor laying it down. I'd like to go ahead and push this through. I think this would be a benefit for the citizens of Precinct 3, and it would be one of the best roads in the county.
How long is that stretch?
It's
9,600 feet.
Yeah, 9,600 feet. is what it says.
2,600 feet.
Yeah, not quite 2 miles.
Almost 2 miles.
And I've been working, their engineer has come out several times and looked at our rebuild process, our compaction. They were very impressed of how well we have it compacted. They agreed that it would hold up very well.
It's your number one road on your CTIF grant, isn't it?
Yes,
So even
That's-
if we just get our minimum request, $147,000 of that money will go toward this 252?
well, it'll come back up. We'll have to pay this if it gets approved. It hasn't been approved by TxDOT yet. And once we complete the project and turn it in, we should get the maximum back.
Yeah.
That's allotted for Precinct 3, so.
I think what Gary was making sure to, everybody understood is there's, that CTIF money will help.
And that's your
Yeah.
priority on your
Be most-
CTIF money.
Yes.
And so, for those who's concerned about what's going to happen to your fund balance, then
Well,
you're going to get $140,000 of it back.
Yes,
I didn't know anybody was concerned about his fund balance.
I'm always concerned about fund balances,
Oh.
mine, yours, everybody else's.
with the projects I have in work,
Guess you worry more about
this would be the quickest means for me to get this one completed.
Yeah.
And be able to continue on the next. Although since we have a gravel shortage, it's kind of hard to finish up anything currently. So anyway, if there's no other questions, I move that we approve my interlocal agreement.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner John Clement,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
Sure gives you an idea of
What the cost to actually.
what they're playing with and what we're playing with. If they're thinking about asphalt as many roads
Oh,
as they
they're-
can at
yeah.
a cost like that.
Well, their
Also-
conversation with the commissioner and the road foreman and the engineer over there, the time it takes to chip seal the road, as many miles, they have like 400 miles of roads that precinct takes care of, and they just physically can't keep up with it. So this company wanted to bid, they've been happy with what roads they've been paved, so. that's what
It
we're
should
out
help
there.
our folks understand why we're not able to asphalt that many miles.
Really? But that is a heavily traveled road, and it's only going to get worse when 35 gets ripped up.
Item number 9 is deliberate consider possible approval of cafeteria plan for county and, or for employee benefits. Elizabeth, you want to talk to this?
Yeah, so this cafeteria plan is the document that allows the county to deduct dependent insurance and some of the AFLAC benefits on a pre-tax basis. So the contact name in this document has been updated, and the remainder of the document is unchanged. We get this document through AFLAC, they provide it for us. So I'm just requesting that you approve or that the court approves the cafeteria plan,
So there's no changes to any of this, it's just,
an updated contact name.
What'd you say about a name change, contact name change or something?
Right, it's updated to my name versus a name that was on there previously.
Move to approve.
we have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell,
Second.
second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Elizabeth. Item number 10 is deliberate consider possible action regarding annex remodel. I did speak with Komatsu last week. They are sending up a team to at least give a walkthrough of the building later. I'm looking at my schedule. I think it's this week or next. I'm trying to find it on my schedule. But next week on the 17th. They're just going to walk through to get an idea of what the upstairs looks like by their team, and then probably shortly after there, we need to probably set up a workshop to have some further discussions on where we want to go with that. But because of COVID-19 complications and work from home schedules, they were a little more delayed than what they wanted to be to get started on it, but they are proceeding forward. Anybody's got any questions on that? If not, item 10 will be no action. Item 11 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding DPS remodel. Do we have anything further on the DPS remodel, Rick?
We are almost completely finished with it. We like just a little bit of electrical over there and then putting down some baseboard. Other than that, we're finished with our part of it. They are open and operating at some capacity and
Behind their tiny desks,
behind their new office.
tiny desks.
Their new office furniture.
Yeah,
But they've already got that installed. I thought they was, I mean,
Well,
there's nothing, they're government surplus desks that are this deep, that we ripped out. It's frustrating. We were told they were going to bring modular things in there, so we ripped out what we had. There's three government surplus desks that are chipped up, beat up, and they are mini desks. They're this deep.
yeah, they're 18 inches or so deep.
They're 18 inches
It's
deep.
actually 20 inches.
I thought they
20
weren't going to reopen until the
They
remodel was
are,
complete.
I think they were told by the state they had to reopen, and they're doing appointment only. I think all DPS offices like that are doing appointment, driver's license offices are doing appointment only.
Well, I went in there and visited with them and asked them if they was really happy with that, and the lady was very excited
They're
about
very
her
excited about their desk.
$20 desk after we ripped out a big,
Well, they do have more stations now,
Yeah.
but their furniture is, it looked like they did this on the cheap end of the
Yeah.
budget.
I asked them about when they were going to take appointments, and they said the first 30 days was just going to be driving test and new driver's license. If you're trying to renew, don't even try to get in for the first 30 days, so.
They probably had to improvise because they had to be getting behind. At some point in time, you got to open. It may not be plush, but maybe it's productive.
Well, maybe they're planning on purchasing the different modular system, just waiting to see how the space opened up.
Yeah.
And this is a temporary fit for now.
Well, I can say that the part that we were responsible for looks good, looks very good. Rick and
Oh,
the
it-
team did a great job on that.
It turned out good. I was amazed at how good the floor cleaned up.
But their modular furniture was used desks from government surplus.
Did you ever talk to anybody, or did you just get a letter?
No, I've had several conversations with them. They came up and met and talked about how they were going to have this modular furniture, and there's, I guess my vision of what that is and their vision was two different things, but
Somebody in government saving money.
I guess reusing desks.
They had to drive all the way to Austin to get the $20 desk, so I don't know if that was, they had to get it from the government surplus place down.
But it'll be, hopefully that'll work out for them, but they do have once they get up and running, and once the entire system gets up and running, we'll have the ability to serve more than just 2 people at one time, but their desks are something to be desired.
Now, is that going to be to Cooke County residents, or is it going to be to?
That's up to
Denton
DPS, that's not, they are supposed to be opening a brand-new facility in Denton at some point, so hopefully some of the out-of-county traffic will alleviate itself.
I wonder if they request sneeze guards, whether you'll put them on those kind of desks.
I don't know, I was wondering the same thing.
Because I asked the lady, you don't want any other protection? Nope. I said, okay, that's fine. Because there's not much room to,
Yeah.
you can't social
They're
distance
pretty
with
much
those.
nose to nose.
Yeah, you're pretty much nose to nose there.
But on our end, I think, Rick, your team did a good job of getting that prepared for them.
We also, I might add, we did complete the wall, the dividing wall between the two offices. And the only thing we lack on that is getting the grills put up there, and
For the returns.
supposed to do that. But the ductwork's in, and it should be functioning.
Good. Anything else on item 11? If not, we'll move on to item 12, which is deliberation regarding status and future needs for new CPS court and consider possible action regarding the same.
We
You have-
finished?
Huh?
Are we finished
We
over there?
I think we're finished with the construction part. Did we get the signs?
We have not got signs up yet,
Okay.
and I'm still waiting on the locksmith to put the locks on the doors.
I thought he was already
No, he has not yet.
locksmith and emergency signs.
Yes, exit signs,
Yeah.
yes.
Gentleman from Denton have to come up and do that? Is that who you use for that?
He's kind of running on a skeleton crew right now, so
Well, do we have anything new on the carpet?
I have, yes, and I just realized I have a quote here, but y'all don't have it. I didn't make copies, but I have, and I can go make copies right quick if you want it.
So what's the quote?
I
Just
have a quote from Joe Walter Lumber. I also got Stephen Floor Covering to come and measure it, but he has not got a quote back to me yet. So the quote for a commercial, very good grade, it's the one you picked out, of the sample that you picked out.
Don't blame this on me. I just pick out colors.
Right, well, that's that one. It is totally installed, $9,274.50. And that is not carpet squares or carpet planks, that's just
sure enough carpet, yeah.
rolls of carpet, big carpet. So I think what we were wanting is to kind of compare what it would cost versus putting the carpet planks in there. So I took the prices from this that we picked out for this courtroom. Here, please. And to do a price comparison, to buy enough of that with the tactile that go with it, so that you're not gluing it down, you're just sticking it to each other. The total for that, using the same installation number that Joe Walter had, the total would be $8,760.
So it's cheaper to go
put
with
that in that annex.
But that's not including labor, that's you guys doing the
All that
labor.
is including labor.
That's including who? Okay.
That's including labor, yes.
$500.
Now, what I did was use the same labor that they put in to put the big piece in.
But you'd have to.
Same dollar amount.
You'd have to hire somebody to come in and do that.
Something. I've had two different people price the labor, and they're both in the $3,000 neighborhood. Installing over there, that many square yards.
So
So I figured $3,000 for installation.
in that 8,700, 5,000 of it?
Yes. Personally, I prefer the tile.
Yeah, I do too.
So it's versatile. You can, if you have a spill, you can just pick a piece of it up and replace it.
Yeah.
That is using the Interface company out of Fort Worth.
All right, total cost for the carpet was $92.24, 92, whatever it was.
92,
74, 50.
74, 92.70,
And the carpet tile total cost is?
87.60.
About time we make a decision.
Oh, get the carpet tile. I was just,
And the same, I mean, we're talking about getting, I mean, the exact same thing that we're using in here, the same color, which I think is.
That's the original thought, was just use that on
Yeah,
both.
just use it for both
I make a motion, we
places.
do both of them.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement.
Both rooms,
Both
same
rooms,
tile.
same color, same, yeah.
Same-
Second.
We have a, I was going to say it. Second by Commissioner Snuggs. Any further discussion? Come on, gentlemen, it's only taken us 4 months or something.
Just want to verify, that is the tile that we're.
That
gonna
is,
use
yeah,
right there.
yeah.
Let's be real, you want to clarify, it took us 4 months. I beg to differ. It did not take me 4 months. It took me 30 minutes to pick out the color, and I've been waiting for the rest of it to come together ever since, so.
Once we got the information, it took
Once,
about-
yeah,
about
it
a
took
minute
about,
and a half.
yeah, it's just getting an apples-to-apples comparison and information, but,
And
Put that one to bed, you can slap the gavel on that one.
all right, I think we've had enough discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
I wonder why they're still in quarantine.
I'm with you on that.
All righty, moving on to item 13, deliberate and consider possible action regarding courthouse window restoration project.
Okay, I brought the show and tell.
I like the show and tell.
Sash, which is what they're talking about. I sent y'all an email that I got probably Friday evening. What the problem is, This window is one that they just took it out this morning. The problem is the seal between the wood and the glass. This is the outside of the window. Typical window of this age, 100 years old, would have putty in here between the wood and the glass. These, they didn't build them that way. This part that would be putty is wood. So they're depending on a seal that they put inside the wood to seal between the wood and the glass. The problem with that is, down at the bottom, there's a little bitty lip, about a 32nd or something, that will hold water. So if you don't have it painted extremely well, you've got issues. I don't care how good you paint it, if it holds water, that's a problem. So what needs to happen is the wood and glass needs to be sealed. And the way they do that is they'll start here, go down to the bottom and across and back to here and not do the top part. And then paint them, they seal them with a caulk that's similar to this color, and then they paint over the caulk onto the glass. And that gives you a seal. And that's what needs to be done to every window here. Now, they're doing it to the windows that they're working on now. But they're not working on every single window. So the guys that were working on it, they said, hey, you're gonna have a lot of problems a couple of years down the line, because we see issues with all of them. So I asked the question, what would it take to go ahead and do all of them while they're here? And in that email is what she discusses what her estimation would be. It's between, she said, without actually counting every single window and really getting into detail on it and giving us an actual proposal on it, which she can do, she's estimating between $50,000 and $55,000 to go around to every window in the building and seal them up.
How many times have we gone through this process?
Several.
Over the years,
Every couple of years, we're doing something to the windows.
and
I
so,
will say this crew is fixing the windows correctly.
I mean,
Good job.
I'm just curious of why we've been through it so many times before we learned this, you know?
So every window they're pulling out now, they are doing that seal too.
Part of your problem is, when was the outside done? When was the outside done?
06.
06, 14 years ago. And they're working on those sashes and all that now, and one of the workers was showing me last week, that was supposed to all been longleaf pine.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. They put junk in 06 when they did it.
Initial millwork?
Yeah, and they cut it and they put pieces in, and now you've got two different kinds of wood together, and it didn't seal well. That's why we've been having some of the problem with it. You know, they've already done a bunch of work to these. Once you all did some work to them, you've repainted them. Of course, you're gonna have to repaint them every X number of years because they're wood, but
Typically 5 to 7 years, they say you need to repaint.
I don't think it's anything that anybody that we've done wrong as the county. It's, we finally found somebody that seems to know what they're saying about the windows. The historical people, I know when we redid the inside, I questioned them about it because we were having trouble with it then already. And, you know, I pointed out to them that the people that we hire come from a pool of people that you all represent as bona fide historical restorer people, and it doesn't always work that way. But yeah, we've invested a lot of money in the windows, but if you don't keep them sealed up, you're gonna have a lot more leaks.
Were y'all talking about before court that some of these windows used to be metal and then,
Just the centerpiece. People think the whole window was aluminum. The whole window never was aluminum. The part you slid up and down was aluminum.
okay.
Just the sash. They
The sash.
pull the sashes out and put retrofit aluminum windows.
I was just curious. I understand that it has to be wood for the grant program and
And
all that.
I've had, a lot of people say, why don't you put a vinyl window in there and be done with it? Well, the historical people don't allow us to do that. Here's the problem.
Well, and I keep being told by all of these wood experts that if you construct these windows with the right wood, seal them properly and install them properly, 10 years, you won't even have to touch it. And some of them are lasting 20 to 25 years without doing any major, just recalk and repaint. And we didn't get that to start with. We didn't start with.
We didn't start with that. We've had a flawed product since the first day that they rebuilt the windows, and we've been keeping up with them pretty good. If
I would say to blame the contractor solely is not right, because the THC signed off on everything that was done.
Oh, I agree. That's why I said, that's why I pointed out that we hire vendors that the THC approves. If you balk at I don't like the cost either, but if you would have been in this building when we had it stripped clean before we started on the inside and seen all of the damage to the plaster, to the metal that holds the plaster, to the things up in the ceiling that holds the ceilings up upstairs, all due to windows and roof leaks and cracks on the rock, you would go, well, okay. Because that's why it took several millions of dollars to rebuild the inside. It had been leaking for years.
But we have made repairs every couple of years.
I understand.
I mean, and so if we
And-
spend this 50,000, it'd be nice if it actually solves the problem.
I've got bad news for you. On a building this old, that is this big, look at the maintenance on your house. Yeah, the maintenance on this thing is never going to stop. On this building, it's never going to stop. At least I hope it doesn't stop.
Well, the thing
But I
is,
understand your frustration. Yeah, we're always fighting the windows.
I mean, we spent a lot of money on windows.
Oh, yeah, we have.
And then spend it again and again and again, and it
right.
would be nice. I mean, I guess it's nice that we found somebody with the expertise to provide us some guidance.
Well, and I might just point out that what they're proposing to do here is to seal up these windows. And if they find one that has some rot or something, that we'll need to address that. But what they're sealing is a 20-year-old window wherever they are. So that's only a temporary fix is the point. But that's sort of how it is with all the windows.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be any better than the fixes we've had in the past then, if it's just a temporary fix? I mean, if I'm going to have to spend the same money 2 years down the road anyway, wait 2 years.
Oh, I don't know.
Wait 2 years.
I'm being somewhat facetious, but
Yeah.
You wait 2 years, you're going to be replacing a bunch of them.
We're going to be spending another 250 grand instead of another 50.
These guys are doing an excellent job of the craftsmanship is good. They're using the right kind of wood and the right kind of sealants and so forth. And I'm impressed with what they're doing.
They actually went and found some old longleaf pine, did they not? Yeah,
They found it here in town.
yeah. Recycled from an old house.
Yes, recycled old houses. It's easy to tell the difference between the wood, to look at the grain on longleaf pine or a piece of wood that's 100 years old versus one you go to Home Depot and buy. You can tell the difference easily.
So on, if we're talking 50 to 55,000, we're going to need to move a little money around in order to do that. We paid for this out of permanent improvement, and I think there's, in that particular line item, we budgeted for the initial project, but not for this. So we can approve it today, but we'd still have to have that budget amendment come along.
Well, in that email, she said it would be the fall before they could do it anyway.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying is, but your timetable is, several weeks anyway. I mean, so
Right.
it's not, we need to do it and we'll, but we also, in order to pay for it, have to move the money around to make that happen. But I'd like to get that ball rolling.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs, second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Rick. Item number 14 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding appointment to the TCOG Board of Directors. I've been serving on TCOG board since I became county judge, so 2015-ish. Spent the last 4 years as board president, And I think somebody else needs to have a turn at this.
Why do you want to give up such a prestigious
Well,
position?
I don't want to be selfish, and I want others
I don't know.
to share in the glory.
Yeah.
No, I think it's good to have, fresh perspective and fresh eyes on it. So my plan is to step down after this next meeting, which will be later this month. And in order, the TCOG bylaw says the county judge, if the county judge does not wish to serve, then the Commissioners Court would appoint another member to serve. I've talked to Commissioner Snuggs, who has indicated that he would be willing to serve. I'll just leave
That's
that
the right way
down.
to put it. Not excited, but willing.
But if somebody else would like to jump in.
I think he'll do a fine job.
You said it's prestigious. I don't know if you wanted.
Yeah.
No, I just can't understand why he'd give it.
I'd be
I think he'll do a fine job.
happy to take care of it.
You need a motion?
I need a motion.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.
Now, see, your danger is, will he do a better job than you?
Well, I hope so. I hope so. Item number 15 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding radio communications project. This has been on court, obviously, last month or so, but I kind of want to have some discussion on where we want to take it from here, because I think hopefully we can all agree that we need to make some improvements.
Is that the blank page that's on the?
I don't know that there is a blank page. I don't have anything in the agenda packet
There's nothing.
for it, but I wanted to get some guidance or thoughts from the court. I know Commissioner Hollowell has done some deliberation on it and may have some thoughts to share.
I have some ideas, I don't know. I can throw them out there. I think that the court collectively, we probably ought to do a workshop. In that workshop, we invite anybody that might be interested in providing us a service. I would think that we provide the county's basic information to those that want to participate, give them a copy of our previous assessment. They can work off of it or do their own at their own expense, and let them provide us a practical solution. I think in doing that, because we can't all meet with potential providers without having commissioner court meetings, that we appoint a couple of members of the court along with the auditor to serve as liaison with the participants. All committee members should be present for any discussions with the participants. Then the committee's likely to call on other elected officials and department heads for input, but all communication goes through the committee. Committee's responsible for briefing the court. Each participant shall provide a written recommendation to the court within 90 days. After reviewing the recommendation, the court as a whole may choose to interview the individuals. We should then consider using the buy board to make the purchase and not do additional quotes and proposals. We need to allow those participants to think outside the box, considering the 700-800 megahertz system to be implemented possibly over the next 5 years. Will that require additional tires? If so, how many, what it's going to cost? Or, what are our other options? Do we simply upgrade everything to digital and go to 100-watt radios? Do we go to a hybrid system, including VHS and 700, just so that some of the fire departments and other law enforcement agencies won't be able to immediately go 700, 800? But let them go off and come back with us a proposal or solution.
When you say off the buy board, you mean like the radio units themselves,
No,
everything?
the whole project can be done by people that, off the buy board. In other words, they provide the solution, that solution's the components for the solution, engineering, everything else, do it off the buy board.
When you say buy board, I'm sure you're, because there's a lot of cooperatives and everything out there. You mean like a
HVAC, yeah.
Purchasing
yeah.
cooperative or whatever you want to call it.
That opens it up to several people, and they can propose the solution.
So what's the advantages of doing that versus an RFP?
Because my thinking is you'll be able to talk to each participant during the process. They're all going to be providing solutions. And so, I mean, you can, it's as fair for one as it is the other, is it not?
Yeah, I'm just curious what the advantages of.
Because once they've individually provided us a solution, then the court can select what solution best fits our needs and our budget.
It might give us a more free flow of ideas. I think we were rather hamstrung.
I mean, I don't know that we even considered 700, 800 in this deal.
We had a workshop at one point, I know it was discussed, but I don't know if it was discussed at length.
Yeah. And I understand we had a workshop in 2017.
2018, September of 2018.
And, you know, I don't know whether it was sheer oversight or didn't ask enough questions, but 2 years later, I don't remember what that workshop, you know, and does anybody have any notes on that workshop?
I mean, I'm sure we got the minutes, but the minutes are just going to say we had a workshop.
So, I mean, something took place. And so, at this point, there was no workshop. I mean, I can't produce any notes.
Well, I mean, there was a workshop, but you don't, I mean, it's how
I'm
fruitful
sorry.
was that work, yeah.
Yeah. And what we really discussed, did we talk about 800? Did we talk about a 5-year plan? You know. But we need to look for the best solution that's going to take us into the future.
A long-term solution.
I mean, and it sounds to me like that law enforcement especially is headed toward 700. So I don't, you know, we spend $1.5 million now with the VHS system, and then all of a sudden we're headed to 700 so we can spend it again.
So kind of like replacing these windows.
It's kind of like buying carpet.
Yeah.
We seem to start these projects, how do I say this delicately? I'm not good at delicate stuff. We start these projects and a committee gets appointed, and it may not have a commissioner on the committee, it may not. And then I've got so much stuff going on as far as roads and business and people talking and floods and storms and everything in the world going on. I have to be part of a regular meeting schedule to keep up with all. I can keep up with all of it, and but I wasn't in charge of getting the carpet maintenance, and he works for you. All I did was pick a color. If I'd have been in charge of the carpet, we'd have had the carpet. I'm sorry to say that, but I believe that to be true. I think if we had a couple of commissioners involved in this, because we use the radios as much as anybody else, representing either side of the county, so to speak, we might get a little further down the road. And I don't know if it'll take us 2 years to get it done. The buy board thing allows you, I think, to maneuver. Money difference, we'd have to, I don't think there'll be that much of a deal. We use the buy board now as commissioners. The county does too, I believe. We buy equipment. And we're satisfied with it. I think it'll give us an opportunity to look at more options in a real-life scenario. What I mean by that is, what can you do and why is your price this way and how can you do it for us, sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, first of all, Commissioner, maintenance works for Commissioners Court, not for me. But
He answers to you. He don't answer to me.
my question on this is I get your concern on committees, but then what would creating a committee in this situation then not run into the same issues? How would creating a committee in this situation not create the same problem?
You put 2 commissioners on a committee and we'll get it done. I have to pay the bill. You're asking me to pay a bill and buy off on a project that I haven't really, you told me we had meetings, we had all this every 6 months, every 4 months, and I don't think it was an involved enough process that kept us up to date enough.
Well, it's like every meeting we've had, it's been a learning curve for myself, not familiar with the radios systems. And I'm finding out that we're purchasing 50-watt radios where there are 100-watt radios out there that may transmit at a higher, stronger frequency, maybe would help solve some of our problems. But yet, with these, every meeting, how many times a year? 3 times a year, 2 times a year, we've talked about it since 17. I forget, aren't getting the information.
And I understand that, and I don't disagree. So how would running off creating a committee now when we have these concerns how would that solve anything?
Well, we had a committee, then 2 of y'all were on the committee, but then there wasn't any input back from either one of y'all about, what was learned
never
in the
met about
committee.
it.
So.
You never met about it.
So that's my biggest hangup on this is I don't know that we need to run off and form another committee because this is a complicated thing. And if you have 2 members of court going off and obviously learning and being abreast of more than the other 3 members of court, how are we not just going to run into the same problem over again?
Well, let me ask you this. Would you like for it to be the whole court and us do it, all of our negotiation through public meetings and have each competitor sharing their proprietary information? What's the alternative?
To do an RFP.
Okay, we done an RFP, and then some committee went off and talked to somebody for 8 months, and nobody knew what the RFP said or consisted of when we got done.
Well, we hired a specialist that was the one in charge of coming up with the trot, and I'm assuming we're talking about not going forward with trot and what you're discussing here.
That's a discussion, I'm open. You want to go with what Trot gave us?
Well, I mean, and they did give us a proposal, but I guess my question is if we have a committee of 2 members of court and the auditor, who's the expert to be able to tell us that what is being proposed is a good solution?
Well, I think that whoever your participants are is going to have an engineer, and they're going to come to us. I think we go to everybody that's interested, have them sit in this room and give them all the same information and get them to provide us a solution, and then using their resources.
But we're going to rely on their engineer, but we're not going to have any qualified expert on our end review that as well?
Okay, you tell me.
Well, I think we should if we're going to talk about
Who's that
spending.
qualified person going to be? It's not going to be somebody on the court.
No, it's not. But if we're talking about spending multiples of millions of dollars, potentially a few $1 million, I think we need an expert on our end of that conversation as well.
We got a bid with 2 prices. The gentleman we hired got up and told us it was obvious what the choice should be. And let me finish. I don't interrupt you. Now let me finish. You want to get down to the nuts and the bolts and the way I saw it, and that's my job to sit here and judge it the way I see it. You may not like it, but I'm an elected official. I'm a commissioner that reps part of the west side of this county, and I have to say what I'm supposed to say. I got 2 proposals put to me that the answers were given to me that way. You don't have a choice, you only have one bona fide one. And when I read through the whole thing, we have one company that says they can do it this way. Another company says they don't think those channels are going to work that well. Now, I may not be using the correct technical jargon, but through unique processes, they can make this work. And we were warned throughout this process to be real careful that we didn't go out and talk to anybody because we didn't want to mess up the progress. So on that magic day when we voted on this, I'm sitting here looking at this, well, I don't have a good bevy of information here. We've had a committee that never met, and I don't trust it. And if I don't trust it, I'm going to throw it out. And that is why. I didn't trust it. It was a long, drawn-out process that went on for years. How many people didn't know we wasn't going to get a tower on Windstar? We were told it was going to be a tower on Windstar, tower on Windstar, tower on Windstar.
We had a meeting and that was discussed at a meeting.
We discussed trying to get a tower at a different place. No one ever came back and said we had the site. We didn't even have the sites locked down. We had 2 fallbacks. Do you have them locked down? Do you have a contractor we're going to guarantee we get a site? No, if we don't get it, we'll go to another one. I can't spend $1.5 million on that. We get upset about windows. At least somebody says they're going to caulk them and they're not going to leak. At least I got that. Somebody's not telling me that we might caulk them if we can get to it. I mean, and if that don't work, we'll go to another project. That is why I turned it down, and that is why I think we need to start over. You're concerned who's the experts. Well, Trot was just here to get us the study. If Trot was our expert, okay.
Trot was our expert. We had
Okay.
a contract with them. And then if we don't want to run with Trot, hold on. If we don't want to go forward with Trot, that's fine. But in order to do a multi-million-dollar project and not say we're going to have an expert on our end, I think is asking for trouble.
Well, we got the information from Trot. If we open this back up and the other sources that didn't bid on this come up and do their own studies, can't we compare what we got from Trot with them and then see if there is a difference?
Well, but we're dealing with some highly technical areas. I mean, in order to approve a road, if we have our own engineer and another engineer, and you guys are in the road business, then why would we not follow a similar metric under this standard?
Okay, then keep Trot. What I'm telling you is all I had was that and Trot. Why would I trust that? Now, I understand what you're saying. If you want to keep Trot, keep Trot.
And I'm not necessarily saying Trot, and
If
I'm
you wanna
fine with
keep
keeping Trot,
But
but
if we go to a couple of companies that are on the buy board, they have their own engineers, do they not? Do they have engineers? Do these companies have engineers? I think they do.
Oh, yeah.
I would assume they would, yes.
Yeah, and I know they're going to give me their sales pitch, but if you've got more than one, at
Yeah,
least,
but you're not going to have, and admittedly so, I think we can all agree, an apples to apples comparison. Some of them are going to give you a 700, some of them are going to say, hey, you can take a modified version of what you have now. What I'm saying is none of us are experts in this particular field in order to say, to give a technical reason on what are the shortcomings and what are the advantages of the other. The ultimate decision is going to be made by Commissioners Court, no doubt.
Exactly.
But there's going to be some technical aspects of that we're simply not going to know the answer to.
Okay,
And
when
that's-
they come to us, is they begin to define their process or assess their process, who are they going to come to ask the basic information about county stuff? Who's going to do that?
About the basic what?
If they got a question to ask the county about where's the towers going to be located, anything coverage-wise, who are they going to go to?
Well, it depends on which part of that question.
Yeah, are you looking for who's going to go out and secure the locations, or who's saying that the locations will work?
Well, we're going to have to provide them some information as to where are the locations. Initially, you're probably going to do that in writing, but somewhere there's going to be some conversation. Some of these participants are going to have questions. Who's going to answer those questions?
And so is this what you're wanting the committee to be involved in? I mean, is that what your proposal is?
That's a suggestion. And I think if we do a committee, and I'm not an advocate of committees and bureaucracies, but if we do a committee, and it's an active committee that stays informed in the process, that it will be it should run efficiently. You separate people on one and get separate opinions, you downsize your committee and keep them involved and keep people briefed. You streamline the process.
refresh my memory. We hired Trot. Did we seeked out bids for engineering firms? We did not.
No.
So how did we come up with Trot? Did we use them in the past, or how were they recommended to us?
And I think that we asked one of our current vendors for a list of 5 or 6 people, and then I think Ray reached out to them and made contact with one of them, and that was the one we used.
So one of our vendors suggested we use Trot.
Yes. Well, gave a list of experts in the industry.
See, and I don't remember that.
No.
That's the first I've heard of that.
So,
An option of 5 or 6 different people.
Well, I don't know how many there were, but
And
there's
if they
multiple.
did, that never came to Commissioners Court, did it?
Well, the hiring of Trot came to commission.
Right.
But how you got to now, I don't, that was 07 or 2017, so I don't.
That's where the problem starts.
That's where the problem starts. A project like this should have been on the agenda every meeting. That way, no one forgets about it. If y'all think it's amusing that we might forget about something, it's got to stay, something as big as that, as important as that, should be on the agenda at least once a month. So people have the ability to ask the questions and get an answer to the question. And it is important for us to know all the behind the scenes, what's going on, because if I'm going to commit to voting for that much money, I want to know how it happened. And I don't think we had a good enough discussion on, should we change to 700 megahertz? It might cost more than we could ever dream. I don't know. I want to know. I remember sitting in here and we were going to buy repeaters to go in vehicles. And that was going to be wonderful. And we were going to put them in cars and different things. Did we ever do that?
Yes,
How many?
3,
Who got them?
patrol supervisors,
Those are the only 3 we bought?
I think so.
Doesn't the ambulance or a rescue have one in it
I
too?
think they do. But that was paid, that's been a while back. That was before my time, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long time ago. I just remember some talk about it. So the way I remember how it went, when Trot came in to do the study to see how much radio coverage there was. And after they did this long, lengthy radio coverage survey, then we moved into the next step where they started with us drawing up the RFP. If we're wanting to start over from scratch, we got to go back to scratch and send out the request for engineers.
You don't have to do a request for professional services. You don't have to do an RFQ or an RFP.
Which is how we
And how do you
ended up
pick
with-
one?
That's how we ended up with Trot to begin with. You can just go hire somebody. That's essentially.
Well, yeah, you just go hire them, but you can seek alternatives.
Yeah, yeah.
And we done it based on recommendation. Court didn't pick the engineer.
well, did we talk to the other providers of what they offered before we even hired an engineer? Of, what kind of studies they do? Some may have done a study for no cost. I don't know, because I don't know if we've been asked.
Well,
If
we
we
were,
asked that question.
we were, and this was back in 2017, as Commissioner Stuggs said, we hired Trot to do the communication study. Now, I'm sure some of the vendors might do a study, but then you're relying on a vendor that's going to want to turn around and sell you something to do a
But didn't you
study.
just say the vendor that we use is the one that recommended Trot, and we only called Trot? Did we not call the other engineers?
I didn't call the other engineer.
But we're to the point of moving forward, so where are we going?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So my concerns are mainly twofold. We have a lot of concern, or has had a lot of discussion over committees, and the proposal has creating a committee. Are we not just asking for that same issue again? What's going to prevent that issue from becoming that same issue again?
You're going to keep this on the court, and we're going to talk about it every month.
And from an expert opinion, I mean, I think we need an expert on our end of this equation. It doesn't have to be Trot. I'm completely okay with it not being Trot, but to not have some expert representing our interest, I think, is asking for trouble.
So
And we can wait until we have a, hey, here's the different options, and then take them to an expert. But at some point, you have to have an expert review that on our end that is not trying to sell you a product, if we're talking about spending several $1 million. I can't support a project that is not going to have that in the equation.
But we had that, and I don't think we got much.
Then, as I said, we can go with a different.
And we can, if you're worried about the expert thing, we could, if you want to bring Trot back, bring Trot back. If he doesn't want, if you got somebody else, that's fine. But I think communication problem was the biggest problem we had. I think if you appoint a new committee that actually meets and talks about this thing every month, I think it'll move a lot smoother than you might believe.
I think if we do it as a court collectively, it won't happen in this lifetime. Because there's going to be so many questions and variations of questions and expectations. I mean, we need to somehow streamline the process. I think the court has to make the decision. The participants have to understand that just because they got commissioners in the room or members of the court in the room, that's not a steadfast decision. I mean, I think in this process, some folks thought that the committee was going to pay the bill.
I don't know that that was ever the case.
Say that last part again?
I said, I think during this last process, there were some folks thought the committee was the final decision makers, and they were going to pay the bill.
I don't think there was enough talk about a committee to even think that the committee even thought anything.
Well, but there was conversation at that podium by the engineer that suggested, or in writing, maybe I have it in the form of an email, not sure, that basically said that the committee had selected
It did.
who was going to do this.
I think the committee thought they were going to tell the Commissioners Court what we're supposed to do, and we were going to slam dunk it, and we had too many questions, and it took too long, and that just sends up nothing but trouble, creates gray areas. So we're back to, what are we going to do? I'd like it to be two commissioners, one from the east side, one from the west side. We will keep everybody appraised, including the judge. I won't have to go back and look up emails from 3 years ago, hopefully.
Well, here is my concerns on the matter, and here's kind of where my thoughts lie. The committee thing, and I know everybody goes into it with a good gung-ho-ness, I guess, for lack of a better word, but we had issues before with the committees. The committee that everybody's alluding to was the individuals that were actually going to be some of the ones that we're using, which includes EMS and the Sheriff's Department. They were assessing it from the actual practical application side of it. I don't think anybody thought that they were making a decision for Commissioners Court. I think our sheriff and EMS know our Commissioners Court well enough to know that they are not the decision makers. The court is the decision maker.
Do the commissioners use it?
Do what?
Yes.
Do the commissioners use the radio system?
That's what, were you sent a scoring sheet?
I couldn't even read it.
But you were sent.
I was sent a scoring sheet that had two obvious.
But you were sent a scoring sheet.
I was sent
and
a
you were-
score- I was-
Hold on. You were sent a scoring sheet and you were sent the entire information that was submitted.
I was sent a scoring sheet with all the information that was submitted by Trot and the two parties, and one party said they couldn't do it. I couldn't even read the scoring sheet. I finally got that clarified, and when I looked at it, why would I score something? Because like Mr. Trot said, it's obvious what needs to happen here. Well, it wasn't obvious to me because I had one gentleman saying it couldn't be done. So, no, we wasn't part of much of the discussion. I believe, like Commissioner Hollowell believes, that somebody thought the committee was going to pay for this, and it was a slam dunk. Now, you can just call it a miscommunication, you can call it whatever you want to, but it did not work. It did not work at all. It's obvious it didn't work. And we can sit here and argue the semantics of this for another month, which we're good at doing. That's why we can't get carpet for 6 months to a year.
It was 3 months on the card.
I understand, Judge, you got concerns. Do you have recommendations for a solution?
My big sticking point on all of what you proposed, Commissioner, is the fact that we don't have an expert on our end. It doesn't have to be trot. If the court is obviously not happy with trot, I'm completely fine with it not being trot, but we need an expert involved at some point in the process to at least review what is being proposed or what we're about to consider before we consider it. That is the biggest sticking point I have. If we can do that, then I am fine with a committee, and the rest of it can be Commissioner Hollowell and Commissioner Leon Clement. I'm fine with that, but give me my expert.
It doesn't have to be Hollowell. Everybody thinks I have a bias. It can be Jason. I'm not hung up on it.
Well, you're the one that came up with the proposal and one of the ones that had some of the most concerns. I think this is a perfect opportunity to put the two individuals that had some of the most concerns together to help make the solution.
I think it'll be perfect.
I'm good with that.
I think that the auditor needs to be on that.
I'm fine with that.
And then, but I do want to go back and because we name names and of elected officials and stuff of that nature, I never said that the sheriff said or suggested that he was part of I just use the sheriff as example because he's sitting here, okay? He never implied, I never implied that he was part of a committee. I never heard from the committee that they thought that they were going to be the bill payers. I heard from the engineer that he thought that the committee was the decision makers, either in writing from that podium one. I never threw any of the committee members under the bus.
I think it goes back like what I said. Now we need an expert, just somebody to represent us when we go to this. We need to figure out a process to select our communications expert or engineering firm or whatever. That's what we need to start at.
I suggest we hear from the participants and then ultimately we can hire a third-party engineer that hadn't been involved in the process up to this point.
I'm fine with that.
To say,
Yeah.
hey, you might want to consider this.
How do we put out to get fair participants? How do you put it out? You just reach out to the major manufacturers?
I think we went down that road. I think we reach out to other counties and see who they've used on that as opposed to vendors. I think you're much more likely to have, that way you're not getting some of the same concerns about getting one of the vendors that may know you reach out to completely somebody that's not.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion.
Well, but
I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to figure out how we move forward, what the first step is.
Well, in the first, I think that probably the first step is get Shelley involved to get the major providers.
Have a workshop, you're talking about.
Have a workshop collectively with the court and say, hey, we've tried to define the process and define the solution. You guys tell us what the solution is. And ironically, I believe that the numbers I actually looked at, I think last week in the judge's office, if you look at just the commissioner's channel, the sheriff's office channel, the proposal didn't improve the mobile efficiency at all, did it?
If you added that third tower, it would. That was just looking at if 2 towers to 2 towers. The sheriff's office right now on digital has the highest coverage.
And it's like 95 on a mobile.
It's 90-something on a mobile.
And so we was going to spend all this money to improve our law enforcement communications, and in reality, it's minimal what we're going to get out of it for law
But I think
enforcement only.
the handheld was considerable, though.
And what did it go to? You remember, Judge? Right off the top of your head?
No, I don't have that in front of me. I think it was in the 60s or 70s, the handheld, and then I'd have to go back and look, but it was.
But it's minuscule as far as in the mobile side of it.
The mobile side was not as high, but on the sheriff. The rest of them it was, because everybody else is on analog.
Things like we need to consider is, if we go 100% digital with your volunteer fire departments, I mean, there's numerous options out there, and we need them to come off and tell us what the best product is.
Did the fire departments know we were doing this? I had one tell me they was going to spend money on radios And they said, what's all this tower talk that was in the newspaper? Now, either they forgot about it, that gets back to taking 2 years or 3 years or 2.5 years to get something done. You gotta keep this out in front of the public more than what we did.
And Judge, you and I need to make an effort to solidify that third tower. Because when we bring the people in the room, we need to be able to give them just the basic facts, you know.
I think that's a fine job for the future committee does, to work on.
Oh, but I mean, you've already.
I've had some conversations with them, and I know that they've got an upcoming, I think the court, or it's going to be July now because of summer. But
And the committee's going to have resources. I mean, we're going to have to be able to go to the elected officials, to the department
Yeah.
heads, and ask questions.
Yeah.
But I think we lay out the basics. Hey, this is our need, and we don't know what it, you know, we don't know how to fix it. So you take your staff as a provider and tell us what you think the best solution is and what's it consist of.
And I'm going to throw this one out there too. You're talking about spending a couple of $1 million and you've been working on something for 2 years. An email one day to a commissioner that's driving some days 150 miles on roads, out on weekends with floods, and you send me an email and say, here, score this. That's not business. That's just sending me an email so you can say you sent me an email so we can get in a meeting and say, I sent you an email, why didn't you know this? When you're talking about business of this magnitude that affects all of the departments like it does, law enforcement, the severity of it or the importance of it, that's not some damn email I get on March with a score sheet that I can't read. That's not the way to do business.
Well, the score sheet came after the fact, after it had
Exactly.
been rated by the committee, and the Commissioners
Exactly.
Court was an afterthought. And there was a summary sheet that would have suggested that had we not made the appropriate selection, we didn't know what we were doing, so, anyway.
Oh. Well, I didn't know, you said there was some.
There was a summary sheet done by somebody that gave one party glowing reviews, so, you
It
know,
was done by Trot.
okay.
Anyway,
So I think it's imperative that we get something done. I mean, we do have issues with radio coverage. That's, I think, very evident when it comes to practical application. And like I said, what you've suggested, the only major sticking point, and I just have concerns about the committee because we've been down that road before, but if the rest of the court doesn't share that, that's fine. I can get on board with it, is at some point before we sign off on it, we need to have an expert, a third-party expert review that, or review when we get to that decision point to,
I think we can do that.
not a vendor expert per se, but an expert for representing Cooke County. So do we need to take action on that today, or do we just set up a workshop and then approve the committee at that workshop, or what do you guys want to do?
Everybody needs to be there and hear from.
Yeah, I agree on that part.
And that way, everybody in the room
At least has a base
heard
level.
the same thing. Said, I think we got to solicit Shelley to
Yeah, but start
put out some
reaching out
invites.
to.
And not necessarily limit that to local media.
Anything else on this item? We'll get with Shelley and try to get a workshop scheduled as soon as possible.
Anybody's got any input for logistics information or expectations or concerns that they would like the court to communicate during the workshop,
And
they should send us an email.
And Commissioner Hollowell, I know you've got that wrote down, but by the time we meet, I'd like to, if we can get that just so everybody's on the same page, kind of wrote out on what, basically what you alluded to a while ago. That way we know what the committee's responsibility is, and we don't get into that discussion unnecessarily again. And when I say unnecessarily, I don't mean the discussion was unnecessary. I mean the miscommunication was unnecessary. Anything further on 15? If not, 15B, no action. We'll try to get something moving on that as soon as possible.
We're not necessarily going to wait till the next meeting, are we? To have our,
I
You're gonna
think it'll
just do it
take some
regular?
time to get an invite out to,
is that what you want to do first? Okay.
We have the workshop as far
have a workshop, and so that, I mean, what I may think is necessary may not be warranted, and we don't want to leave anything out, any other concerns that any of the commissioners, members of the court have. So,
All right.
Item number 16 is deliberate and consider possible approval regarding various grant funds. Run down the list is FEMA 2015 flood. Anything new on this?
Well, an email just popped up that I got from Ray. I don't know what's in it. What's in it?
Project worksheet 1124, County Road 413, and the obligation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like Amber got that and was sent it out this morning.
All right. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, there it is.
Anything else on the 2015?
No,
Hadn't received word on the extension.
they
yet.
have not kicked it back yet. When this popped up, I thought that's what this was, but it's not.
Item B is FEMA 2020 COVID-19. I don't have anything on that. C is CARES Act funding. We did receive and I don't have the actual amount, but did receive that 20% of the initial funds. Those funds obviously can only be spent on COVID-related items. So a lot of the, and Shelley's not here, but a lot of the things that we had done, tents and additional workers and stuff like that will be, those funds can be utilized for. And we have until basically the end of the year to expend all 1.1 million of those funds. And whatever we don't spend, we don't get. Because it is reimbursed after the first 20%. Item D is public safety grant, COVID. Don't have anything new. I know that was submitted. Still waiting to hear back. Item E is CTIF road grant. I don't think we've gotten any. They've received it. It's basically all we've received so far. Item F is the HAVA elections grant. There was unless Pam wants to speak on this, there was a webinar this past week. Did you watch the webinar? Looks
Come on,
like.
tell us what you think. Why? Okay.
I watched the first 30 minutes of it. I didn't go into the Q&A part of it. But essentially, there was originally 3 HAVA grants, and now they're going to combine 2 of them. That's the plan. So the one we already got, or the one we already applied for, is processed, or is being processed. But then the other 2, instead of there being 2 different piles of money of 40 and 80, basically, you just get 1 pile of money instead. And that's the more general, that's not COVID specific, I think, unless you have more. So it doesn't change, it just means one less application or set of paperwork, which is actually potentially good. Item 17 is executive session in compliance with Texas Open Records Act 551 of the Government Code. We have personnel matters, consult with attorney, real property, and deliberation regarding security devices and security audits. So it is 11:19. Well, as soon as everybody It is 11:57. We are back in regular session. Item number 18 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding public health emergency declaration for COVID-19. Just because we hadn't done it in a while, I would like for the court to update the disaster declaration. The proposed declaration that I'd like for the court to consider doesn't have any restrictions in it. It simply recommends that the court, or that individuals follow the state and CDC guidelines to reduce contact. It doesn't have any directives in it.
So we've changed it up quite a bit.
We took out any
Timeline.
teeth. It's only for budgetary purposes,
There you
man, at
go.
this time.
I got you.
Pam, I went ahead and started it. All right, there's one in there, whatever one that is. You can use it.
It works.
It works. It was laying right there, so there. Yeah, it's, the main reason to keep it on right now is ability to spend some of the grant funds and stuff, and may need to be expended for various precautionary things.
Yeah, so we're doing this as much or more for to stay current with the COVID and the grants and things that
Yep.
we are, yeah.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs. Second by Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0. And just for the public, the tent, the overflow tent is being dismantled next week, or at least that's the plan, unless something changes between now and then. Next item on the agenda is deliberate and consider possible action regarding personnel matters, and I don't have anything unless anybody else does. So 19 would be no action. 20 is future agenda items. Next, courts. We will start our budget workshops. For those who remember, that'd be the 22nd and 23rd, and maybe the 24th. I'm still getting all that worked out as we speak. Should have that preliminary budget packet by the end of the week for that workshop. So that'll be happening next court.
Think that's going to take how many days?
Right now, unless something changes, just Monday and Tuesday, Monday afternoon and Tuesday. Not to get into that much discussion, but there's not a whole lot of new stuff being asked for this year.
Shelley could fit it into her schedule. That might be a good time to do the workshop on one of those short days.
We could, most everybody probably scheduled off for that Wednesday, so
Wednesday's
you
what
can do
I'm
that
thinking.
Wednesday. If we have to do maybe a budget hearing from 9 to 10 and then something, yeah, that's a possibility.
Might work.
The budget workshop and potential radio workshop dates. Anything else on future agenda items?
Do we have a group that's going to try to form an ESD?
There's a group that's talking about it, but we hadn't got anything formal. They've been talking about it for years.
Yeah, I know.
I have a meeting this afternoon.
Do they actually? Oh, okay.
We ought to talk about all the ramifications of that as a group one day, if that's really going to happen.
Yeah, there's.
The group being us.
Yeah,
Commissioners
yeah.
Court.
We eventually get to consider it, and do you have a meeting with that particular group or those individuals? Or is it the fire department?
Fire department.
Okay,
Who else would it be?
that would be it. There's a few members on that, some of the ones that I know were
Okay,
talking
yeah, well, they
about.
got some outside, they formed an ESD committee,
Okay, did talk.
exploring and doing, and then, but they've asked me to attend just their regular monthly board meeting today, where somebody's giving a presentation.
Why don't you put it on the
Yes,
court
Steve.
for next agenda before we get into a full-blown
Yeah,
discussion?
I'll put it on there so that at least we know kind of, hey, this is what this means or doesn't mean.
They're looking at it being on the ballot for
Next year,
2021.
yeah. Anything else? If not, 21 is to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Snuggs,
Second.
Second by Commissioner John Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 5-0.